controversy. I'm talking about very basic discussions that we should have about our basic, like, rudimentary beliefs that we have about the way that we get to truth and our philosophy and stuff like that. And I don't think that it's very prevalent among people of our background. At least I don't know if that is a prevalent thing in like you come from an Iraqi background and whatnot. If you talk to these people, it's
they don't get into specific
more dogmatic
yeah.
than it's a reason based. And even people.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Talk Lab podcast. Thank you for clicking this episode. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the Talk Lab podcast and you're not part of this family, you should consider subscribing after, more than 20 episodes. You should be already part of this family. Don't forget to check out the Talk Lab podcast on the audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Rami and Spotify. And, check the Talk Lab podcast's social media in the description. And let's get with it on this episode. And on this episode, I've got one of the great friends to myself and, one of the great part of our team. You've got Hosein, Islami. How's it going, bro?
It's going well. How are you doing?
Not bad, considering the weather in Ottawa.
Oh yeah, today I got stuck outside. I didn't know it was going to snow, so I had a light jacket and then had a Vans shoe.
I see you destroyed my my humor there. I was trying to make a joke of like, the weather is nice here and it's summer and it's 30 Celsius.
Yeah, I live for stuff like that. Yeah, I live to destroy your jokes.
Yeah, all the time. Real life and the podcast as well.
Yeah.
If you don't know what's going on in Ottawa, it was snowing close to May, April 30th. Yeah. It's bullshit. That's what it is. Like Duckford is not enough. We got Duckford and the weather. What else? Oh my.
All right. Yeah, and we go by Ahmed as well. He's not helping either.
I mean, yes and no. You hate me on multiple occasions. Man, it's been such a long run for for everyone, especially with COVID. And I like to ask this golden question that I've been asking on every episode of this podcast. How is COVID treating you, man?
I'm doing great, man. I've never been better. Yeah, I think it's a blessing, man.
Okay. This is the first time I'm getting this comment from anyone.
Okay.
For someone who doesn't like to socialize with people,
yeah. I think not looking at people's faces, that's just dream come true.
And not having to care about people and their their bullshit. It is good and bad though. Like, we're missing a lot of the interaction with people.
Yeah, fair enough,
I mean, for myself, I do socialize a lot. So, and I miss, our hangouts and I miss coffee shops and regular coffee shops. Please don't tell me to pick up coffee from somewhere and just drink it at home or something or drink it by yourself in the car. That's really sad. That's really sad. Cry after that, literally. It's like I thought smoking by yourself was sad, but COVID has introduced a lot of sad scenarios now.
Have you seen that meme? It's Keanu Reeves eating a sandwich by himself.
No.
Now it's all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Snap, man. We try from time to time to hang around and do stuff, but you have to be within your circle. And now with the restrictions and the measures that we get every 2-3 days, you get lost in between this stuff. And bottom line, you can't even hang out with your circle anymore. I mean, I'm not sure if I can hang out with my brother or not. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's gotten to that point that like I have told my family to not, to not interact with me as much and to stay, as far as they can from me, because like, I work, I'm a frontline worker, and I get exposed more to people, and it's scary, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, especially if you have someone or some people that are, that have like bad immune systems. It's
True.
this thing is gonna kill them.
True. That's true. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I heard about in Alberta. I heard about this young girl who died due to COVID recently, and
Wow.
I think it was today's morning. That's when she died, and looks like she picked up the virus from her sister.
Wow.
And what scares me is that she's young, like she's our age, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if this says anything that like it can get you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, don't treat it as like, oh, it's just a cold. Like it can be serious, depending on the strain, though.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course. I don't like to talk a lot about medical stuff, since you're not too into it.
Yeah, man.
You don't like it that much, though. But yeah, it's let's say it's been blessing, and it's been a hard thing
Yeah.
as well.
We're enjoying it, man.
You're enjoying it. You're enjoying it, man. Anyway, how was work? You just also finished university, right? You're just done for this year, right?
Yeah. This year. Yeah. This year. I'm done. I just did my exams.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a surreal experience, so to speak. It was pretty surreal. So yeah, I'm happy to be done with that and see what summer is holding for me. Any plans for this summer?
Not really, man. Like, well, I've got some stuff, some production stuff to do, but so not very big plans, other than
Yeah.
trying to live this summer.
It's hard
As a
to plan
summer.
ahead while you don't know what's coming, eh?
It's really difficult, especially that Ontario tends to be moody. Let's say the government is very moody, and they overlook numbers. They don't know. They're not looking what those numbers are really mean in real scenarios and on ground. They just look at numbers and be like, oh, that's it. We're in another lockdown. You know what I mean? So it just makes it more difficult to people like myself, like a lot of people that I know as well, to start a business or even live a happy and healthy life. It's
I think you
difficult.
can
And
find joy. You
and
can find joys in here and there in projects and
I mean, it's
whatnot.
it's
I
not always
think
sad, but
definitely.
like
Yeah.
it's just more difficult to like than ever, if you see what I
Yeah,
mean.
that's true.
And
That's true.
and let's be real, like we can blame it on COVID, but I feel that there was a lot of things that could have been done to avoid what in the situation that we're in right now. Not sure if you agree or disagree with me on that side.
Well, it's easy to say. Like I remember a lot of people were saying about Dr. Fauci, United States specifically, that why he didn't do so and so. Similar things have been said about different people in Canada at the very beginning. Why they first said put masks on, and then said don't they first said don't wear a mask. It is not that effective, and then they said it's pretty effective and whatnot. But to be honest, it was a novel disease, and everyone was figuring it out as they were figuring out more things about it. So I think the more fair assessment of the initial phase was that everyone's figuring it out. At this stage, we have a general understanding of the disease and its symptoms. So I would say some degree, although in case of Ontario, I do think the government at times it does act a little bit more draconian than most people would like. And but I do think that the executive part of Doug Ford is listening to the experts in this thing. If you look at the news before he did the lockdown, like the opposition was pressuring him that the numbers are going up and so on and so forth, and we're not doing anything about it. So I think you're just between a rock and a hard place. I'm not here to make excuses for the guy, but I do think that you're dealing with a lot of variables, and your opposition also is not as patient. The opposition that might one day say that, well, you're not doing enough, and then when you do something, they can take the opposite position, and because they're not in the spotlight, they can get away with changing their rhetoric.
So my take on that is the thing is with me, I'm in a weird spot. So like I don't disagree with him because I agree with him on so the numbers linked to what medical expertise are saying, it's 100% true. Like we're in a real situation here. You know what I mean? That you can't, unsee this, let's say. But the thing is, I would have said that they could have dealt with the situation in a better manner, in a better way. Even though it's difficult to make the situation for work for everybody, and I do understand that. It's just, I feel that, they had so much time to think the situation. We could have come to a solution that we can live with, let's say, for a couple of months until we figure out or we control those numbers. Because going to a lockdown will put down the numbers, it will decrease them, and getting out of a lockdown will increase them every time. Because people, let's say the truth. Bottom line, you cannot control people. You know what I mean? Like once you're out of the lockdown, people will go crazy. They don't think so. They only think in a lockdown that I should get this thing that's essential and that's not that thing that's not essential, because they're forced to do it. If they are not forced to do this, people will go crazy. Even within a lockdown, I'm seeing some stuff that actually are nowhere near essential, nowhere. And I'm seeing some people that suffer from this because they need to get some essential stuff. And as I said before, like in another episode, and I don't like to reference a lot, but I mentioned this because it's very important. So like for, let's say, kids, you cannot really control what's essential and what's not for them. Like for kids, you don't know what your kid's gonna need tomorrow. You know what I mean?
I see.
And like, I'm glad I'm not in that situation right now, but I feel for those who have kids and who can't provide to them the stuff that they need. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So,
but the good news is I do think at the end of the tunnel there's a light, and if you look at the news, it was yesterday, I think. I read it on CBC.
Yeah, they announced,
actually, a colleague today gave me the article. They said by the end of May they want all adults to be eligible to be vaccinated in Ontario, at least. And that's a pretty good news compared to United States, though. Like United States, they already adults who want to be vaccinated can get vaccinated, but that's a step towards forward.
It's interesting that we got that. I was shocked because I was I was like, there's no hope. There's nothing left for us, because it's just because you hear that we're short on vaccines, you hear the bad news, and you're like, that's it. I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel anymore. And I was really glad to hear that, to be honest with you. It just,
maybe that has something to do with the nature of the news. People might respond to a bad news more than good news. Maybe that's it. I don't know what. That's how it works.
That's a great way of looking at it. I like that way of looking at it. That's a great way of looking at it, actually. I agree with you. I totally agree. Maybe that's what got me as well. I don't know what was it, but bottom line, it's just you get into this situation and this loop of okay, what's next? I can't see anything. You know what I mean? And especially for people our age, that you don't have access anymore to it. I mean, I think I'm not sure if it was only Shoppers, but I was able to get on Shoppers website and register for the vaccine. but they
That's
put
good.
your name on a list since you're like a frontline worker. So they put your name on a list, and supposedly they should call you after, which didn't happen. It's been more than like, or it's been a month. Yeah, it's been a month since I put my name on the list. But
Well,
I think they
hopefully
go by age. Yeah,
I see. Yeah. I think we're the last one. Like if you put
we
ourselves
are
in
we are we
Yeah.
are in the last last
category.
stage.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So actually, the week of May 24th, that's when Ontario adults over the age of 18 can get their vaccines,
That's good.
which
That's
which is really great, to be honest with you. That's at least if you get the dose one, that's
Mhm.
what I heard. If you get dose one, it highly decreases the chance of you getting the virus.
That is true.
And like if we and people don't understand when we say it highly decreases it, they take it in a way that it highly decreases it. It means you'll not get it. No, you might still get it, but highly decreasing the chance of getting the virus means we can control the numbers more.
That is true. Yeah. Interesting.
Anyway,
So-
do you think? Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a well. If you
shift
remember last episode, that I'm going to reference the episode that we just passed as well, about
Sure.
Basically whether like the essence of your argument and Mo's argument was an interesting dichotomy of two ways of looking at the government's responsibilities and duties, and on the other hand, the responses. It's always been interesting to see that different people's expectation from the government and whatnot. And you're not alone. You're not alone in your fear for the draconian measures that are, like, if you call it draconian. But I think it's not that weird for in general in Ontarian government or Canadian government to implement stuff that might seem harsh compared to the general view that we have about our societies, like liberal ethos. At times you can see that ethos, it's not undermined, but it's is not as is not as prevalent as let me just give you an example. This is taxation season, right?
Yeah.
And imagine if you don't pay your taxes, that kind and very benevolent government that we know might turn to this draconian and solicitor government that might come after you and threaten you with so and so if you don't pay your taxes. So at times when the government feels the need that just telling people to be nice and not do stuff doesn't work, I think at times they use more draconian means of getting what they want.
I mean,
yeah,
you call me. Yeah.
That was a killer, man.
Yeah. There you go. I don't know how he memorized this. I don't think he did. Did you?
No, I didn't know.
Did you just?
Yeah, I'm reading out of a script.
This
man.
is not scripted, by the way. This is not scripted. Yeah. I don't know. I think I still kind of hold to my to my side, even though
definitely
it's changing every day. It's not like I change my opinion due to facts that I see, but then like it's not like a sudden change. I just there are factors that might change my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It might change parts of my opinion, wouldn't change the general thing, because it's actually difficult to change someone's vision or like how they see things. But I still hold to my side, and I feel that people as well, a lot of people actually can relate, and a lot of people side with me when I say that, like, they should have done better, or they should have done this, they should have done that, because let's face it here, even though I'm not trying to take the opposing side, I am the opposing side.
I see. Fair enough. Yeah, and I think it's an important feature if we just give ground to one side. I do think if we give ground to one side to become that prevalent. As a famous saying said, that absolute power corrupts absolutely. So that is also true if there is no opposition to the to a discourse, so to speak. If there is no opposition to it, it will seem itself as it is. It's everything. It's enough for people, and if there isn't any a position, it will not force the prevalent discourse will not force itself to reform itself. Basically,
agreed.
Yeah. So
let me just actually, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just ask you a question. You said you don't change your opinion that often and whatnot, and that is true about people. It is unlike many people back in the days in the classical age or in the modern age thought that reason is a very like if we use reason, we make dogmas more fluent and basically logic rules over everything, and people like there was this discourse among many philosophers that come and convince me. I'm very open to be convinced, but the reality is that we are more rigid than we think we are. We are more set. It's certain things are not set on the stone, but we are not as flexible as we think we are, and it's good to acknowledge that when you're introducing a new discourse into the society. But on that notion, I wanted to ask you, how much do you see yourself philosophically correct in your pursuit for truth, so to speak?
Snap, you got me there. All right, so saying that just to let people know how far we go back, me and you. And I'm not trying to run from the question. I'm gonna answer it, but
okay, that's good. That's good.
We go back way far, and you've been with me since. How many projects have we been doing, or actually have we done together? A lot. And one of the projects that we did, 2015. God damn it, it's been that long. Yeah. Wow. So basically, some projects that we had were actually discussion based, if you remember.
Yeah.
And there was one particular project that we did, and it was me, you, and another friend, and there was like lots of people who came in, and that's what I asked myself, like, going into every conversation, because like every time you learn something, right, and it changes something in you, like even though you actually deny it. It does change something. It does change something either in your opinion or indirectly that changes something to make you ask and question, your belief. So saying that, like out of 10, I would say 7 out of 10. That's how much I think I'm philosophically correct. Even though, and again, like, I when I take sides, or when I make an assumption, or when I like try to guesstimate, let's say, you gotta put a percentage, let's say at least 30%. You could be wrong, like you never know. You gotta consider everything, and that's that percentage. I know it's a bit high, but because again, I go into a lot of discussions, and both of us work in a way that we talk to people a lot, so conversation is our thing. So I think and it changes a lot, like we see the change on ourselves.
Fair enough. Yeah, but one thing that was interesting to me, that a lot of people of our background, they're afraid of certain discussions. They fear entering into certain discussions, if you know if you get my drift.
Oh yeah,
there is a fear
100%.
There is a fear of opening certain discussions. I know certain discussions are can be considered controversial. I'm not talking about these very controversial things, just people who want to stir controversy. I'm talking about very basic discussions that we should have about our basic, like, rudimentary beliefs that we have about the way that we get to truth and our philosophy and stuff like that. And I don't think that it's very prevalent among people of our background. At least I don't know if that is a prevalent thing in like you come from an Iraqi background and whatnot. If you talk to these people, it's
they don't get into specific
more dogmatic
yeah.
than it's a reason based. And even people who claim that they're reason based, it's still dogmatic. It's not as philosophically correct, so to speak, as you want it to be. And I do think that's partially because we think we know everything. There's a sense that it's like our if you go back to history, there always been that thought that we knew everything. Everything was that we were the center of knowledge. Like Baghdad was center of knowledge. Everything comes from there, and stuff like that. So even if you look at the Ottoman Empire and the reasons of certain that some historians have talked about of why Ottomans fell behind the Europeans in certain aspects, they talk about was that feeling when the printing or the press machine or the printing machine came out. There was this notion that they thought that we didn't need that. We don't need all these
machines
Western.
that
We have the gold here. We have this. We are the source of
we
knowledge.
have the hand.
Man.
We have the hand. We have the pen. No, it wasn't a pen. The ink and the
yeah. Basically, we have this pride that we know everything. That we gods basically. No, I don't want to say that word. We are. We're the I don't know what's the English word for it, but the Persian they say "Kul al-sabat," like the flower of God. Wardem Allah, Arab say.
Just to say in Iraqi,
Yeah. And I don't think that absence of that humbleness that a knowledge seeker should have, that has hurt us like during history and right now it does hurt us. And I do think we should be more humble and understand that we don't understand everything. We don't know everything, and we have to pursue these things.
I mean, have you ever tried to? And we come from the same community, so have you ever tried to convince, let's say, an old man, a Hajji, that iPhone 12 is better than your iPhone 4S, right?
Yeah.
that's
now imagine
impossible,
trying to convince him of someone. I don't know. There's a culture of discourse. I don't think there's an absence of culture of discourse, and there's a feeling that people try not to do that because they're afraid of offending people. And I think to some degree it is correct that you should be polite with people and whatnot. But
sure.
after a certain degree, I mean, if you get offended for something very rudimentary and basic, it's the onus is on you. At that point, the onus is on you. It's not on. Exactly. Basically, we need to get the discourse going with young people concerning certain things. Even people. Let me just get a little bit more controversial, so to speak. No, even if you go to let's say, give an example. Go to the cultural Islamic societies in universities, places that are supposed to be more free thinkers and be more critical thinkers, is supposed to be more open-minded. You see, a certain dogma is prevalent over there as well. And I'm not sure how much we want to go into that, but I find that there was... When people moved in from our countries here, there were two categories of the people. There were people who did not pursue the social sciences. Like if you ask, like, how many of our youngs and people like who go to university from our generations, from Iraq, from Iran, from the regions communities that we come from, how many of them went to social sciences and humanities? And how many of them went to the sciences, like you, and to engineering? Some of them really like these engineering sciences, and this is amazing. Go become a doctor or a lawyer. That's perfect. Go do that.
On the other hand, you see those like considered. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, and like the only way that fathers saw salvation of their children in this world was that you either become a certain thing like engineer or become like something tangible, while philosophy, while arts, while humanities, while social sciences were not considered that valid of a subject. And it was left alone, and I do think it's left alone, and we don't have that good of a representation in these fields as we should. We do need engineers, we do need doctors, we do need all these vocations, but we also need people, thinkers, we need philosophers, we need all these categories. I'm not saying that people are not going into these categories,
but encouraging people to go there. We're not encouraging people to go there. That's the thing.
I am encouraging people to go there.
Well, no, I know. Well, you know why? I was talking about our culture in general does not.
Definitely.
Yeah. Like you're either a doctor, engineer, or disgrace, as we've been saying literally every episode of this podcast. Like that's how it is. You know what I mean? Even though there's lots of parents that I've met, that have like the bigger mindset, but they either, there's a jump that happened there where like they got it from their parents, or they convinced their parents that what they were doing was great.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I think, sorry, they come from a society that it does not. Let's say a philosopher doesn't make money. Let's be realistic. The philosopher is not guaranteed to have money out of philosophy. If he wants to get money, he gets academia, gets like a job in somewhere else. History doesn't make you money. These are not subjects that make you money. And I do think the fiscal and economic factors that our parents are in a situation that they are in. Some of them are more. They came here earlier, they can afford their children going to these subjects. Others, they really can't afford that. And that I'm not putting all the blames on them, but I'm saying that comes with a baggage. That comes with a like a generation of kids that really are don't have certain credentials in the let's say the general society or in the intellectual society. And the people who are going in these subjects, not all of them are cream of the crops. So a lot of them are, I don't find them to be very bright. They're very much following the prevalent discourse and dogma of the curriculum. They don't have that, they're not taking anything from their own culture. And if they're taking anything from their own culture, it's not something that has depth. It's very shallow. It's very, I don't know how to describe it. It's very, it's just the rudimentary stuff. It's not the depth that you would expect it to have. So I do think that we do need more students of social sciences and humanities
than chemists.
Than chemists, yeah. No, we do need chemists, but we need more of those, because we don't have that many credentials in these intellectual circles.
Let's be real. Like we've been like I've been looking at some issues as well, like that we have. Let's say social issues and let's say family issues, man. Like issues within the family, these stuff are off limits. Those stuff are off conversation when it comes to like, especially like coming from a Middle Eastern family. They don't look at this stuff. They don't seek they don't seek family counseling. They don't seek this
like
kind of stuff.
Like going to psychologists.
We don't have so many people.
Yeah. A friend of mine was saying that he was talking to his parents that he might need to go to a psychologist and whatnot. And like his parents said to him that are you retarded or something? You want to go to a psychologist? They're like there is a taboo around that. If someone has a mental illness. If you go to psychology,
you're gonna become mentally unstable. That's basically the stereotype.
Also, there's distrust. There's also distrust of certain principles of psychology among more educated members of our community. But other than that, but among the general populace, there is just a general ignorance of the subject. They think that, well, going, like, if when your body gets ill, you go to a doctor of body,
Right.
of your physique and whatnot. But when you're psychologically get injured and whatnot, like certain parents have that expectation for their kids to just suck it up and
Heal themselves,
get
yeah.
up, yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think it's
I do
some
think
people
I do think
may-
it goes, yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off on this one, because I do think it goes back to this this excuse that, like, you have food, you have a place to stay, you're safe, you should be happy. You know, we don't look, or we don't take psychological issues and mental wellness, and like we don't take that seriously in our communities, unfortunately. And like, let's say in the general idea or the general look of our community, we don't take that seriously. I know lots of people actually do take it seriously, though.
yeah. Oh,
So
yeah,
especially
I
our
think
listeners,
yeah, yeah. I think there's another guy who was saying that depression is a bourgeois sickness. Like it's just only rich people can afford to be depressed. So yeah, I think there are other elements are involved and whatnot. I'm not here to preach and say I have the solution, but I think there's a issue there that we should definitely the community should definitely look into.
Look into that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we're trying to build in this episode as well, or that's the idea that we want to represent there, is like, pointing out these issues. If we're pointing them out right now, it doesn't mean we have all the solutions yet. It means we're taking, let's say, the first step of trying to solve these, because like the first step is pointing out the issue, then the community looks at it, because like no one is taking that step to, or like not many people are taking that step of pointing out those issues. It's just staying hidden, and no one likes to call them out. You know what I mean? And as you said before, like we don't talk about this stuff. Those stuff are just off the discussion, off the table. We can't talk about it. You know what I mean? And even if you try to bring it up, they slap it, just hide it back.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And I do think that, well, it's not only our community. I do think, well, not just this point of psychology and whatnot, psychiatry and stuff like that, and distrust of it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's it's only plaguing our communities, but I do think because we're members of this community, we want the best for it and whatnot. So
Exactly.
let me just change the angle and ask you a question. How
Go
long
ahead.
you been in Canada? Like since 2015, right?
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
what, 6 years, 7?
6 years,
I don't
yeah.
remember. 6 years.
Let me just ask you the basic question that I would ask like any friend of mine that have lived that long or not. How do you
Go
find
ahead,
Canada
man.
so far?
Interesting. I like it and hate it. Winter sucks, by the way. On that side, yeah, I feel like Canada is interesting. So like on one side, okay, like as a photographer, I love the scenery, and
Yeah.
I feel every time you go out, it's an opportunity. And for us who do biking as well, me and you, and my brother, sometimes our friends as well, it's nice. Though on the other hand, it's interesting. It's like, by the way, I haven't lived around my relatives pretty much my whole life. Like, I don't know, like I can't recall one time that I saw my relatives for more than like a month in 1 year.
I see.
You know what I mean? The maximum I've seen them like 3 weeks in one time. That was the max. But yeah, like I like pretty much my whole life I was living in countries where my family is like mom, dad, my siblings. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
well-
like, it's nothing, not a big change to me as in comparison to other people who immigrate here, and it's just like a big change because like they used to live around their relatives, like, and you know how it works, that right? It's like it's not even your relatives, it's like your big circle,
Your community,
and, like,
basically. Your community at home,
it's a
and
big,
then
yeah, exactly, and it's way bigger than here. Like now, like I feel that the only opposite side is like between Canada, or just like the only comparison that I would compare Canada to Lebanon is like relationships with people is different, you know. Like here relationships have limits, and it's very tight, you know what I mean? Like, you know,
You don't
like
have time. You don't have time.
certain, you don't have time. Yeah, and there's lots of things that goes into, like, your problems are yours. I don't care about you. You know, to if like there's a point where like that's it. I don't care about you. Where there, it's different. It's just like, if you're my friend, we're
embracing.
dying together. I don't care.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big.
I do think
it's
that
a big
that
difference.
something is
Go ahead.
specific about. I find it very specific about North America's culture. Like Canada, United States, these are very similar with each other with respect to this issue. It's that people are working, like, they're hyper. It's a hyper capitalist society in which people like always have to be working to at least either get ends meet or like live their life, basically. You don't have that much time as people in Europe or in our countries, to a larger degree, in Europe to a lesser degree, would have to go beyond that, basically. Go beyond that, just make money, and then like they have more time to build community. They have more time to do extracurriculums. They have more time to go to vacations. I think I've talked to many Canadians, many of my coworkers. Like, if they go out of Canada, they would go to the United States, they would go to the Bahamas, they go to vacation, but they don't go to travel the world as a cultured person would go. Like, and we're not talking about like anyone. We're talking about, these are like people who have the money to go. These are the people who have the education that you would consider them to be cultured, and so on and so forth. But the mentality is not there. And even if they go to Europe, they go recreationally. They don't go for education. They don't go to be cultured and whatnot. The only thing they understand from culture is to experience. Oh, I don't want to say it. Anyways. Basically,
get ripped off and, you know, go back home. That's literally it.
Yeah, basically, it's a culture of. They do tourism, but they don't do educational tourism. That depth that you would find in certain societies. Like, I knew a guy who, when I was in Iran, I knew like a Swedish wife and husband who came to our hometown, and like stuff like that. You seldom see Canadians or Americans doing what Europeans do. Even the British are more cultured. They have more culture, so to speak, quote unquote, than their American and Canadian counterparts. And I do think that lifestyle does contribute to that factor of, I don't want to say lack of culture, but I'm going to say lack of culture.
It is.
There's a lack of culture and sophistication, so to speak. And I know I'm coming across as snobbish and whatnot, but I'm not sure if you agree with me. There is a lack of that material that I really crave. If you come from that world, you crave this like, depth of material, and you don't see it. And you do see it among certain people. I'm not saying everyone is like that.
I need you to elaborate on that. Man. Because like if I get it myself, I think you're gonna get batched if you don't.
Okay.
Unless you've been asking for it.
What part of it do you want to elaborate?
So when we're saying that, you know, like Canadians here don't, or let's say not Canadian, North Americans who go and travel the world, they don't go for, let's say, you know, educational purposes or learning purposes.
Some of them do. Let's be honest. Some of them do.
Yeah.
I don't think they're experienced in the world, because I think the distance is a big matter. Like in Europe, a couple of kilometers, you're in a different country, different culture, different language. In here, a couple of kilometers from there, you could go to Mexico. But like, it's not that much difference. Like
it's not a couple of kilometers. And I do think that lots, but
and I do think that does contribute to the level of sophistication that one a culture can have. And I go, I'm okay. Let me just correct myself.
Go ahead.
I don't think I can remedy that. It's out there. Okay, I'm gonna be bashed, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna stand behind it, man.
maybe when the cameras are off, you can ask me to like cut this off, or just pay me.
Yeah,
behind
sure,
the
sure. Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
under the table. You can pay me. One cut is $100. Okay. Yeah, I feel going back to our thing and moving away from my stupid jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So. Oh my God. Yeah, I feel that like we were talking about Europe, and I feel that the geographical factor plays a big part of, shaping, the personality or the characteristics of people of a certain country as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Highly.
There's a book, I forgot the name of it, but it talks about geography and how it affects the socio-political aspects of a country, and shows that countries that are more isolated, they develop certain radicalism of a sort. Now, it could be a positive or negative of sort of a radicalism, but they develop certain forms of extreme that is due to their isolation and whatnot. And countries who are more involved, they learn to be less extreme in certain aspects. And it does affect, like, Canada's isolation in general from the world, from the old world, so to speak, if we want to try to speak the old language. But from the Eurasia, or Africa, Eurasia, has affected its development as a country in a way that is very unique compared to United States. United States also developed in a different way, but United States, it's an older country. It's an older nation state than Canada is. It has more experience with the world than Canada does, and I do think
we're like the cute kid in the.
I do think that Canada is like basically is lucky to be related to like United States or to United Kingdom, because if you imagine any country with Canada's population and Canada's ability to mobilize, I don't think they're going to fare very well on their own. And I do think we've been very fortunate to be in geographic situation. Let me just give you an example. The vaccination rollout. You can see that Canadian government at every point is trying very hard compared to America's also trying. Every country is trying, but Canada's struggle, it's very specific to it. It's lack of ability to mobilize. It's very interesting compared to the United States, which is bigger, has more population. It's not bigger geographically, but it has more population. Yep. But it does a better job at mobilizing if it wants to. If it puts the asset into it,
because the geography changes. Yeah, changing
geography. No, because it's also an older country. It's an older nation state
as well. Yeah,
compared to like Canada's is more sophisticated on certain fronts. Like now, Canadians are we are more snobbish. We're more we think that we are snob and superior to the United States and whatnot. And we always I think it comes from insecurity. And I think there's a YouTuber that talks about this a lot. JJ McKillen. If we find him, we can I don't know, put in the description, whatever you put him. He's a really good interest. His politics is not my politics, but he's a really good YouTuber when he talks about Canadian issues. I don't think he does point out the illnesses of this very young nation state. And Canada's constitution was 1980 something, right? Like Canada was given the right to have it. They didn't need a test for the immigration.
Yep.
Yeah,
I believe I'm just fact checking you, but okay. I think let's say it would be safe to say so. Canada is 153 years old.
No, okay. As a notion of nation state is a more complex issue.
As a nation, how
I
know that.
People, let's say 100 years ago, how many of the peoples of the country introduced themselves as part of the British Empire, as members of the Canadian Dominion and members of the British Empire, and how many of them had that notion of independence and that thing that the United States had, on the other hand, like the United States desire for independence goes back to its independence and then goes back it's reliance on itself and whatnot.
1776.
Yeah,
July
yeah,
4th, 1776. Yeah, it's
it's an older country, but
244
Canada,
years. Yeah.
yeah, but Canada has been struggling with that.
It's been pretty new. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty new the concept of the Canada that has its own constitution, has its own
As it rules
identity
itself by
of a
itself,
separate
let's say. Yeah.
as a separate identity. It's a somewhat a new. There are evidence in the history that Canadians had that understanding that we are separate in a way, but until even right now, like that YouTuber that I talked about. He talks about it, that the insecurity of our insecurity with the United States, and maybe part of that the reason that we try to compare ourselves with the United States is that we are very insecure about our own identity, and we try to distance ourselves on certain points, but we are very similar. And one of the things that he pointed out in one of his videos is that, and I think you would agree with me, and I think we talked about it with you and with your dad as well. Like Canadians are very polite. That's no,
it's not really. Yeah,
if you work in customer service, like jokes are it's a universal language.
Jokes
like Karen is a universal feature. It's doesn't stand behind the border. So
yeah. Yeah,
So
if you deal with people in general, if your job is to deal with people, you do understand that. Like,
Yeah.
there's no language that can let's say put a Karen or just like get a Karen. No, every language has their own Karens in their own ways as well. But yeah, it's Canadians are not nice. Like it's just like we are nice in ways, but like it's just a stereotype that people take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Politeness. Well,
Depending on
he talks
how
about it.
you-
He talks
how-
about it.
Depending on how you actually like, I don't like to call it politeness because like, okay, let me be clear here. Okay, I'm not really polite. You know what I mean? And the reason why I respect your rights is because I know you're like, what you're gonna do is respect my rights. You know,
All right.
you're gonna respect me back.
Very transactional.
That's what exactly. It's very mutual. You know what I mean? It's kind of like unspoken rule. You know, it's like the moment there's no law, I think people will change their idea or their the way they see Canadians. You know, like that's, and let's not, we're not talking about crimes, but we're talking about in general, like, you know, that idea of like every Canadian is nice. You know, everywhere you go in Canada, they're all nice. I mean, dude, just go to Alberta for f***'s sake.
No, they're very
It's
nice
like the
people.
Texas. It's like, oh, off. They're like the Texas of like Canada, dude.
No, sorry, very nice people.
There you go.
Very nice. If you listen to us and you're Albertan,
Don't attack us.
I condone this. I condone this. I'm not part of this.
I like that I'm being comfortable on this podcast to the point that I can say whatever I want, dude.
Yeah.
No.
You're gonna bleep. You're gonna bleep that part that you said. Fuck yourself.
No, we're not monetized yet.
Oh,
I don't care.
don't you want to be?
I want to be, but you know, we're far away from getting monetized. You know what I mean? I'm more like,
Okay, yeah.
you know, say whatever.
So okay.
Anyhow, but yeah, talking about, you know, geographical, let's say, how it's funny. A funny fact, I was interested in these kind of studies and how what factors affect the characteristics of each country. And back in the days, I was studying. I think it was back in high school when it was in Lebanon. In Lebanon, we take everything seriously, and I had this teacher that also take it an extra mile, and they make you do your own research and write your own papers in a way, like in a more professional way, more than high school, by the way. Like, you know, a high school level in Lebanon is different than high school level here.
Yeah.
There was this thing is like we were comparing. It's funny. Okay, we were comparing how balconies in different countries actually affect the characteristics of people. Like, tend to have an effect on characteristics of people. And we were talking about France, for instance. France or Paris, let's be exact. Okay, in Paris, like, have you seen pictures about, like, you know, balconies in Paris?
No,
Really small. They're really small. Like
Wow.
compared to how balconies look in Lebanon, dude. They just like look massive, you know.
Yeah, it's
You
like
try to
half of your house.
yeah, literally, it's like it's actually.
I think I know.
So
in France, it's just
it's the length.
there for.
It's the length of your if you live. So if you live in an apartment, it's like it's the length of your actually of your whole. Oh my god, why am I getting tongue twist right now? It's the length of your whole apartment. And in some cases, like the apartment that we used to live in, there are multiple doors that you can exit to it. Like the balcony is its own thing, you know. And
Yeah.
it was massive. We used to play soccer in there.
And the ball goes in the
That's why we
street,
played-
and then
the
it breaks
ball-
someone's
oh.
car.
There you go.
One time I
Oh.
was playing soccer with my brother, and we had an apartment in Syria. I used to live in Damascus. And then the window was open, and I scored on my brother, and the ball went all the way downstairs and hit someone's head. I don't know what happened. The guy wasn't happy. The guy wasn't happy,
no.
so we just hit inside.
Dude, I one time
Yeah.
the ball actually escaped, and like it went because we lived on like, you know, a very busy street, and it went to the other side of the street. So all we did is like we didn't even claim that ball, dude. No one would.
Yeah, it's very scary. Like I remember when we were in Syria, we were scared of like the I don't know, it's gonna be politically
So
incorrect.
many things, so many things,
Like the
let's say.
kids, like they were the other side. Some of them were not very let's call
No,
them
yeah.
very mature. Yeah, let's call them very.
Yeah, it was easy to get bullied. Period.
Yeah, like these kids were absolutely the ruffians. They were ruffians. They would
Like
beat
it
you up.
doesn't matter.
They would be
Yeah, it
like
doesn't
the
matter how
absolute
you
terrible
look.
kids.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't
And
matter
they
how you
did
look, it doesn't
heinous
matter
things,
anything.
absolutely heinous things. Like things I'm gonna tell you after the episode, but it's so bad. If I tell you, you're not gonna monetize at all. It's just
No, I lived in Syria. I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
dude.
it's so like these kids did things that I don't know criminals do.
It's like yeah, literally. It's like they can make their own Narcos movie.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about anyways.
I
I'm
know.
gonna tell you later. I'm gonna tell you later. So
oh, that terrible.
yeah,
That
it was that terrible. Like
Are
like
we,
they, they,
are we talking that terrible? Okay, we're talking 11 out of 10, right?
we're talking about 18 plus. 18 plus things that like children were
Okay,
yeah, it's just stuff that people
after
like
the
children
episode,
do.
that's gonna be
Yeah.
such an interesting conversation.
Yeah, definitely. If you subscribe to our Spotify, you will get the extra part.
Maybe we should make our own, OnlyFans that has the interesting stories of Syria and everything.
What OnlyFans? What are you going to show? On OnlyFans? Okay, let's just.
I mean, you don't have to show anything on OnlyFans, dude. Why do you think OnlyFans is only for like 18 plus stuff? I mean, it is for 18 plus stuff, but like it doesn't have to be sexual. It's just
educational.
It's moved, I think it moved to like a subscription based stuff. Like it moved way beyond that point where it's like porn. You know what I mean?
You
Let's
know
say
too
for
much
that.
about it. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
maybe we should
I'm
be-
suspicious a little bit.
I think we had that conversation before. Where like like we had
Your
that joke
knowledge
before.
of these kind of stuff scare me, man. Scare me.
I mean, I don't know where you've been living, but like if you scroll on TikTok for like 5 minutes, you're gonna find out that it's.
I don't have TikTok. You know me. I
That's why-
don't
that's
have
why
social
you
media.
don't live on that
I'm
word.
zero.
You know?
I live under a rock. I don't have any social media. You know that.
Damn. God.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we were talking about how
and then
horrible
I
it
was
is. Yeah.
scared of these kids, and my mom always like told me just don't go around these kids, and yeah, we always when you like if your ball went that side of the street, and then the kids were like
Forget it.
hanging out, your ball is gone,
their
man.
price.
If you left your buck and one of them took it, you're not gonna tell your dad because his dad is a criminal. He's gonna kill your dad if he gets anything. You're gonna just take him, man.
Exactly. It's
So
like,
it's-
oh my
yeah, it's
god, this
absolutely
idea used to always scare me.
Yeah,
This idea used to always
these are
scare
like
me, dude.
terrible kids, and yeah, and so yeah, you were saying about architecture.
Yeah, I was talking about like how balconies in France are very small. So I don't know. I don't know what I came to, like, what I said in that research. I think I came to the conclusion of, like, it's not very needed. Like, it's very, let's say, in it's not in whole France. Let's say in Paris, especially lots of old buildings used to have those, small little balconies, because they didn't need it for, like, let's say what we used it for in Lebanon. Literally, if you live in an apartment, you would have everything in there, like,
Yeah.
your old stuff, bicycles, everything, like,
Yeah, it's like a
and I'm
house
saying with an S,
in a tower.
bicycles, because the whole family's bicycles are there, and like old parts, dude. There are like stuff that, like, I even forgotten about, that I used to find there. You know what I mean? It's just a mess. It's like your garage in here.
Yeah, basically it's like like a like if you imagine a neighborhood, it's like a lot of neighborhood, you would imagine like it'd be like this, like a horizontal, but like apartments, like in back home, it's like a vertical neighborhoods. You have certain countries, they have like a stores, and like the third level there's a store there, like you can buy Haji Aboud's stuff, and then on that floor you have, in certain countries they do have that like the building, they utilize it for different uses. But yeah, the houses are like they're more complete, because many people either rent it or they own already. But there's no notion of that we have here, that apartments are more like in condos. Is more true about condos in here, but most apartments that I've seen for rent and whatnot, it's more of a temporary state than something that you would make your home. And over there, they make it more their home. It's like they put everything there,
even though you're renting.
Yeah,
most of the time.
Yeah,
it's just different, and like, I think it goes back, like, it's so many factors that goes in building the characteristic of a specific country's like people. I mean, even in Canada, though, like, let's go back, because, like, I'm not gonna make a point on that side, but I was trying to make a point on something else, that, like, in Canada we have so many cultures. We've made it to a point that Canadian have their own thing right now. Like, you can't define Canadian by standards that people in the US have. You know what I mean? Canadians are Canadians. Period.
Really? I mean, I understand some of it.
We
Like,
took
it
a lot from them, and I agree with you if you're gonna say that. Yet we have built it in our own ways. You know what I mean? Like, we developed our own characteristics, because it's multicultural.
Do you think these are good characteristics though?
It's arguably
like in comparison. Do you think the way that the United States embraced its way of melting pot, is it like
powerful?
I do think Canada is faulty in the way that we observe it. Like, it's not a music culture. There's a like mosaic culture, not mosaic culture, that as much as you would think it is. It's mosaic as long as that mosaic fits certain construct.
Again,
Quebec, look at Quebec's law. Quebec's law, like, women who can wear veils for government jobs. That just tells you that, or Quebec's certain laws that say, if you're coming and becoming a citizen in Quebec, you ought to understand that we have certain values, and if you don't, it could be bad. I'm not saying it's bad or good. In certain countries, like even back home, they do that as well. Like, you ought to submit to the values and whatnot. But these countries don't have claim of diversity. These are countries that they have claim of. I'm not talking racial diversity. That's a different concept. Like, in our countries, where I know, like, it's rapid racism and whatnot, but in here it's been more welcoming than in the old world, so to speak. But if we go back to this topic of let's say diversity of thought, I don't find it that much in Canada as much as I like to. Maybe that's a good thing. I'm not sure. Maybe that's a good thing that you don't have that much clash of ideas, that much friction. Maybe you eliminate the people on the margins and you do all that, and then maybe that gives you like a stable country. Or is it just that they do a better job at alienating people of different like bizarre thoughts. Although there are certain bizarre thoughts that become mainstream, like the Green Party. Many people think that it's a bit bizarre. Like certain things are bizarre, but they become mainstream. But other than those, like certain things that are not very dangerous for society. We're not talking about dangerous ideologies or thoughts. We're talking about just normal thought that normal person would have.
And again,
let's talk about now. You want to go a little bit controversial here. Social conservatism that
I didn't
we
say
have.
anything. I didn't say
let's say
anything.
we
You
come
want to
from
go a little bit controversial.
Okay, the social conservatism that from our countries, when we come here, we have this social conservative notion of stuff, and but if
we have a wrong idea.
What?
Let's say we have. Okay, I was gonna talk a little bit about this kind of stuff. It's like we have a wrong idea. We have like those pink dreams of like Canada, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Pretty sure that everyone had actually their own pink dreams.
You're gonna get disappointed, eh?
You know, and they come here and like disappointed. It's like even when I talk to people who want to come here as well, like I know a couple of friends who are trying to come here, and you know, they are trying, but the thing is they have those pink dreams, and I was like, okay, I'd like to be the person to say to you that please do not have those dreams. Like it's not what you think it is. It's a great country and everything, but it has its own bad things, you know, like it's not you know, like you don't get paid just to become a citizen, you know what I mean? Like just or just you don't get paid as a citizen to be a citizen. You know, it doesn't work this way. You have to work your ass off. That's first of all.
There's a hyper.
They take also opportunities in a different way. Like they think it's you walk down the street and there you have an opportunity. No, you gotta seek opportunities. You gotta work hard. Again, it's this ideology. They compare what they think or what they have of Canada in their mind to the countries that are miserable, and they make their own ideologies and they make their own thoughts about Canada, which is very wrong. And I heard
an interesting
a lot of stuff
hybrid
before
as
I came
well.
here.
If you want to get real about that, it's a weird hybrid. People who come here, they're normally socially conservative, but they vote left-leaning. Let's get a little political. It's really interesting.
It's very weird. Yeah, it's a very interesting
their
concept.
kids are normally left-leaning, and it's mostly because they have rooted, like, if you go back to our countries, there's the political discourse is a more of was an anti-colonial discourse that happened especially after World War II's the establishments fell apart after World War II and whatnot in different countries, like the nationalists and like in Iraq and Syria and Egypt, certain ideologies of pan-Arabism became very prevalent. In Lebanon, similar ideologies of anti-colonialism became prevalent, and these were merged with the Marxist understanding that when they came to Canada, they carried that part of Marxist ideology. At the same time, they were very socially conservative. So it was a very weird hybrid of these two, and they saw an embrace of that by, let's say, in the United Kingdom, by the Labour Party. Like if you look at the Palestinian issue, you can see that left-leaning parties are more towards that, and you see even people who are socially conservative and they don't agree with the left-leaning parties on many issues, they become even prominent members of the left-leaning party because they just have very focused goal of let's say Palestinian issues and whatnot, and it's a very interesting dichotomy that it brings an interesting flavor to the politics in Canada and United Kingdom, United States, even to some degree. If you look at the Democratic Party and with the Congresses, some of the new like Elena Omar, I think. And people like her, they have that tendency of left-leaning. I do think she's socially conservative on certain issues. If you really go deep on certain issues, she's very traditional on certain issues. She wears a hijab. Obviously, she has more traditional views on certain issues. At the same time, she is very left-leaning on her perspective. And it's really interesting that it also confuses the political psyche of these countries a little bit, because you would assume that. Now I think Stephen Harper in an interview he said like that and he said it right, that a lot of migrants who come to Canada, they're conservative. They naturally should be allies to the conservatives, but they go to the other side and vote the other side, even though they're entrepreneurial. Some of them, they want to make money. They don't like taxes. They come from countries that don't have that much progressive taxation. So they normally don't like high taxation. They are more self-reliant, because most of us haven't lived in countries that have healthcare system that is functional. So they should be used to that, be more self-reliant, be so on and so forth. But you see that there's a shift that they go the other side. And the second generations, they lose some of that conservative views, and they more go to that perspective. And going back to the topic that we're talking about people who go to the universities and study these topics of social sciences and whatnot, most of them in our community, if you go to the Islamic communities and universities, or Arab communities and universities, the prevalent ideology, it's slightly reminiscent with the left-leaning construct and the right-leaning construct of where a lot of people came from, which was just an observation. It's just an interesting observation more than a statement.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it.
I was just ranting at this point. I'm just babbling on.
And I'm just letting him be. Letting him be himself. I'm just letting you be yourself, man.
That's good. That's good. That's Hosein 101.
Literally.
All right.
I respect that, man, and I agree with you on that side as well. Like, highly.
Just to say general just to do a general affirmation. I agree with you. Just if they pick on certain things that I said, and they say no, I don't agree on that part, but I agree with them. So just to make it general.
Maybe just
gonna sync with me one of those days. We're gonna sync with me.
Very soon, man.
Very soon.
Well, thank you for joining me on this episode. It was actually great talking to you. And it was just an honor introducing you to the viewers, because Hosein is a research guy, ironically enough.
Yeah.
Hasn't
been doing a lot of research lately. And
that explains a lot why the podcast really suffers from research. No, you've been helping a lot on a lot of stuff, and I actually thank you, because you've been such a great part of this podcast as well.
Anytime, man, anytime.
Since the beginning, man. Since July last year, it's been such a great journey having you.
Thank you, and happy to be here.
Thank you for joining me. If you have made it till the end of this episode, thank you very much for watching. You bared our conversation that goes deep, and my head is spinning right now. So I don't know how your head is not.
That was me.
I blame him.
Symptom of listening to me.
Oh God. Well, thank you everyone for watching this episode. Thank you for making it till the end of the episode. If you haven't subscribed yet to the Talk Lab podcast, you should be subscribed to the Talk Lab podcast. Ring that bell so you're notified every time we post an episode. Check our social media links in the description, and check the Talk Lab podcast on the audio platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anghami, and Spotify. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.